and off, and there's a microphone, and you can similarly toggle your mic on and off. Please do keep yourselves on mute if you are not speaking. And for members who wish to speak, I would just ask that you state your name. I cannot see everyone's face simultaneously on my screen. So again, just please state your name and any comments you have about the items. Billy Gamble is going to be monitoring the chat. And I would like to mention, if anybody does have technical difficulties, please do reach out to us either by phone or by email, and we will assist to get you connected. If you do lose connection, for folks, I would like to remind you that there is a dial-in number at the top of the agenda as well. So that's all I've got today. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you. So let's call the meeting to order. And maybe the first thing we need to do is introduce our new members. We have lots of new members. We're so excited about that. And if you'll indulge me as chair, I'd like to briefly describe a bit about each of the new members. And let's start with my new friend, Speaker Don Scott. And I have to say, the first meeting I had with Speaker Scott, he shared that he was excited to come on the Go Virginia board, and then he peppered me with questions and gave me follow-up work to do. So that's our new speaker, fantastic, a hard worker. Speaker Scott is a native of Houston, Texas, graduated from Texas A&M University. From there, he enrolled in the Navy's Officer Candidate School in Rhode Island. Speaker Scott proudly served his country as an officer of the U.S. Navy before earning his law degree from the Louisiana State University. In 2005, Speaker Scott joined the workforce development company KRA Corporation in Portsmouth, where he now makes his home. Speaker Scott is a partner in Brett Bianazin, PC, and he was elected to the House of Delegates in 2019. Next is Delegate Luke Torian, who's no stranger to Go Virginia, having served on the board before. Delegate Torian is chair of the House Committee on Appropriations, has also been added to our membership. Delegate Torian is a community advocate and leader in Go Virginia Region 7. He has played a role in organizations such as the Dumfries Creative and Performing Arts Center, Project Minda House, the Boys and Girls Club, and Action and Community Through Service. He is the founder of Virginia's Organized for Interfaith Community Engagement and has supported many outreach ministries, including First Mount Zion Baptist Church's SHARE program to provide reduced cost groceries and meals to community families. Delegate Torian earned his Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from Winston-Salem State University and earned his master's degree in divinity from the School of Theology at Virginia Union University. Delegate Torian was first elected to the Virginia General Assembly in 2009. And let me pause there for a minute and just ask everyone if they would put their microphone on mute unless you're speaking. That'll kind of help some of the feedback. Next is Delegate Michelle Maldonado, who's been appointed to serve on the Go Virginia State Board as well. Delegate Maldonado began her academic career at Barnard College and Columbia University before getting her law degree at the George Washington University Law School, making her the first woman in her family to earn a law degree. The delegate is a long-term resident of the Manassas area. She was elected to the House's 50th District in 2021, making her the first woman and person of color to represent the district. She serves in several notable committees, including House Labor and Commerce and Commission on Coal and Energy. Moving to the Senate side, we welcome Senator Louise Lucas. She's joined our board in her capacity as chair of the Senate Committee on Finance and Appropriations. Senator Lucas began her career as an apprenticeship fitter at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard in 1967, working her way toward becoming the very first woman ship fitter in 1971. Now, y'all say ship fitter 3 times in a row and you'll get tongue-tied as well. After an extensive career in the shipbuilding industry, Senator Lucas began a new career path as interim executive director of the Southeastern Tidewater Opportunity Project, an organization that provides neighborhood services such as job training and housing and educational assistance. Senator Lucas is the most senior member of Virginia's Senate, having been first elected in 1992. Senator Craig Deeds, my neighbor in Bath County, has also been appointed to the state board by the Senate Committee on Rules. Senator Deeds was born and raised in Bath County, Virginia, before going on to earn his bachelor's degree from Concord College and then a law degree from Wake Forest University. Senator Deeds was first elected to the House of Delegates in 1991. He was then elected to the Virginia Senate in 2001, making him the second most senior member of the Senate behind Senator Lucas. The second appointment of the chair of the Senate Committee on Rules is Senator Ryan McDougall. Senator McDougall began his academic career in Harrisonburg, Virginia at James Madison University. He then earned his Juris Doctor at the Marshall Wythe School of Law at the College of William and Mary. Upon graduation, Senator McDougall worked as a prosecutor for the Hanover County Commonwealth Attorney's Office. The senator's professional work as a prosecutor in domestic violence and family abuse and personal commitment to the protection of children resulted in the creation of the Hanover County Child Advocate Response Team. Senator McDougall was elected to the House of Delegates in 2002. He then went on to win an election for the 4th Senate District seat in 2006, making him the 5th most senior member at the Virginia Senate. I have to ask Senator McDougall, we don't often share much about ourselves personally, but my daughter-in-law is Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney here in Salem. And when I asked her, why did you want to be a prosecutor? She said two things. My daddy was an NYPD in 9/11. And secondly, I watched Law and Order on TV and it seemed cool. So there you go. I want to personally thank all of you all for joining, especially our new legislators. We are thrilled to have you. And before I continue, lastly, I'd also like to take a moment to welcome the newest DHCD staff member, Shara Gibson. We've been waiting for her to come. We're so excited to have her. She joined the staff on March 25th as our program manager. Shara has experience in entrepreneurial ecosystem building, state and federal contracting, and small business policy, along with experience in grant writing and grant management. And we know she's going to do a bang-up job. We're so happy to have you. She's an alumnus of Hampton University and a graduate of the Howard University MBA program. So welcome. Okay, now we get down to business. Cody, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Agee.
I'm here.
Mr. Jim Chang.
I'm here.
Secretary Steve Cummings.
I'm here.
Mr. Ben Davenport.
I'm here.
Senator Craig Deeds.
President accounted for.
Mr. Jim Dyke. Mr. Cliff Fleet.
Here.
Mr. Haywood Fralin.
Here.
Ms. Leah Kramow.
Here.
Speaker Don Scott.
How do I turn my speaker on?
Is your speaker not on?
Mr. Bill Holtzman.
Here.
Microphone.
Mr. Kenneth Johnson.
How do I know whether they hear me or not?
We can hear you, Mr. Holtzman. We can hear you.
Okay, if you could.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, I see you. I just didn't hear you. You'll have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Sorry, user error here.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you. Delegate Terry Kilgore. Mr. John King. Senator Eloise Lucas.
Here. I'm here.
Hi. Senator Ryan McDougall.
I'm here as well.
Secretary Karen Merrick,
Here.
Delegate Michelle Maldonado, Ms. Emily O'Quinn,
Here.
Mr. John Peterson, John, I see you. John, your audio isn't working. I'm gonna count you as here. But if you continue to experience difficulties, just reach out to our team. Mr. Todd Stottlemyre,
Here.
Delegate Luke Torian,
Here.
thank you, and Ms. Pia Trigiani.
Here.
Madam Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Cody. Cody, at this time, we'd like to open the floor for comments from the public. Can you please recognize any members of the public who would like to provide public comment?
Madam Chair, at this time, it doesn't appear that anybody is reaching out in the chat who would like to speak as part of public comment.
Okay, thank you. Likewise, do we have any written comments that were submitted ahead of the meeting?
Yes, ma'am. We do have one written public comment, and I'm going to read that aloud.
Okay.
This comes from Beverly Dalton, Vice Chair of Gare Virginia Region 2. And it reads, and this is directed towards Sarah Dunnigan. Dear Ms. Dunnigan, on behalf of the Gare Virginia Region 2 Council, we request reconsideration of the full Gare Virginia request for the Project Vital Region 2 proposal from Verge of $4,987,029 and would like to provide clarification on the proposed use of funds. As stands, the recommendation for partial approval would remove funding for the proof of concept component of the Project Vital Region 2 proposal. Go Virginia funds will be used for Virginia Tech to provide technical services and support for up to 12 competitively awarded biomedical firm projects. This will increase access to one of our key technical assets and build both the volume and pace of the commercialization pipeline in Region 2. We appreciate the diligence of the Go Virginia Application Workgroup and DHCD staff review to vet the complex proposal this quarter. Thank you. Again, signed Beverly Dalton, Vice Chair of Go Virginia Region 2.
Thank you, Cody. Any other written communications?
No, ma'am, there is no other written communication.
Okay. With that, we will close the public comment period. Now you have a consent agenda in your packet. You'll find several items on the consent agenda, including minutes from the December meeting of the board, minutes from the March meeting where a quorum was not present, approval of the FY25 per capita and competitive allocations, approval of the FY25 regional capacity building allocations, including a waiver of match for those funds, approval of the FY25 regional capacity building budgets, an appeal request for a staff decision to not fund a planning grant from Region 6 that came in last quarter, and proposed amendments to board policy, which are technical in order to ensure that our policy is consistent with state code changes, which reduce match requirements that were passed in the 2024 General Assembly session. Much of this we talked about at our March meeting, but we do need to vote on it because we did not have a quorum. You have all of that, and I would ordinarily ask that we take all these as a block, but I want to give everyone an opportunity to look at that and ask if anything needs to be pulled from the consent agenda.
Madam Chairman, this is Ryan McDougall. If we could pull the Region 6 board appeal from the consent agenda.
We will do it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Otherwise,
Nancy,
may I have, oh,
This Ben Davenport, there is a project from the Institute in Danville that I would like to have pulled from the consent. If that's part of this, I don't know whether it is or not, but at some point I know I need to recuse myself from that because I'm on that board.
Right, I don't think that's part of the consent agenda, Ben, but we'll remember that when we get to it.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda absent F, Region 6 Board Appeal?
So moved.
There a second?
I'll second Cliff.
All those in favor? And any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye or.
Aye.
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 And any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We have one item, the item number 6. So we've pulled that. Is there a motion to approve items F from Region 6? I need a motion to approve it. We can always vote on not approving it, but we do need a motion to move us along.
So moved, Todd.
Is there a second?
Second, Cliff.
All right, all those, well, any questions or comments? Senator McDougall, you asked us to pull this. Is there anything you want to add to this or?
No, ma'am, I'm
You
just
just
gonna vote
abstain.
the other way.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say aye.
No.
No. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Now, do we need a roll call, Sarah?
Madam Chair, I think to do a roll call vote, we should do so for each action. I just want to make sure all members are connected, using these virtual platforms. So if you wouldn't indulge us, we'll just do a quick roll call vote for that last item that the senator requested to be voted on independently.
Okay. Cody, will
Okay.
you call and what answer do you want us to give? A yay or a nay?
That's correct.
Yes,
Okay.
and to clarify the motion before we vote, the motion would be to approve the staff recommendation to not approve the project in effect. So Nancy Agee,
Yay.
Jim Chang,
Yay.
Steve Cummings,
Yeah.
Ben Davenport. I got you.
Yes. Yes.
Craig Deeds,
Yes.
Jim Dyke, Cliff Fleet,
Yay.
Haywood Freeland,
Yes.
Leah Framo,
Yes.
Don Scott, Bill Holtzman,
Yes.
Kenneth Johnson,
Yes.
Terry Kilgore, John King, Senator Lucas,
Aye.
Senator McDougall,
No.
Karen Merrick,
Yes.
Delegate Maldonado,
Yes.
John Peterson,
Yes.
Todd Stottlemyre,
Yes.
Luke Torian,
Yes.
and Pietro Gianni.
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Cody, it's Emily O'Quinn.
Oh,
I think you
did I
may
skip
have
you?
skipped me, but I vote yes.
I apologize, Ms.
No
O'Quinn.
problem at all.
Thank you, Cody.
Sam.
I think the advantage of a virtual meeting is that we all get to sit in the comfort of our offices, but the sometimes tediousness of it is this roll call, and it is what it is, right? Moving along our agenda, as part of the new board structure that we adopted through our bylaws revisions in December, we have a slightly different process for the election of officers. And for this item, I'd like to recognize the chair of the Governance and Policy Committee, Emily O'Quinn, to report on any committee recommended nominees. Emily?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon. After deliberation that you will recall at our last meeting, the Governance and Policy Committee would like to recommend Leah Freemau for the position of Vice Chair of Regional Councils. And this position of Vice Chair of Regional Councils is charged with coordination and oversight of the work of the regional councils, including the development of strategies to ensure communication between the board and the regional councils, the creation of synergy among the regions, and inviting feedback from the regional councils to ensure alignment in direction and strategies between the board and the councils. These councils have diverse memberships from local government officials to not-for-profit entities and private sector industry leaders. And to that end, a successful vice chair of regional councils must possess exceptional communication skills with all facets of the economic development community. Leah's background as a leader in community development financial institutions uniquely positions her to undertake this challenge. As the former vice president of community innovation at Virginia Community Capital, and as the current president and CEO of Bridging Virginia, as well as holding memberships on the Chamber RVA Board and Virginia Tech's Center of Economic and Community Engagement Advisory Board, Leah has a demonstrated track record of engagement with these diverse memberships that will allow her to excel in this role.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Leah, for agreeing to put your name forward. I think this is a really important maturation process for Go Virginia as we create sort of an infrastructure and network to reach out regularly to all of our councils. As that came from a committee, it needs no second. Are there any other members of the board who would like to make a nomination at this time? If not, we'll close the nomination period and we need another roll call. So all those in favor of Leah accepting this chairmanship, please say aye as Cody calls your name.
Nancy Agee,
Aye.
Jim Chang,
Aye.
Steve Cummings,
Aye.
Ben Davenport,
Aye.
Cray Deeds,
Aye.
Jim Dyke, Cliff Fleet,
Aye.
Haywood Fralin,
Aye.
Leah Freimel,
Aye.
Don Scott, Bill Holtzman. Bill Holtzman. You're muted, sir. Kenneth
Thumbs
Johnson.
up. Aye.
Terry Kilgore. John King. Eloise Lucas.
Aye.
Senator McDougal.
Aye.
Karen Merrick.
Yes.
Michelle Maldonado.
Yes.
Emily O'Quinn.
Aye.
John Peterson.
Yes.
Todd Stottlemyre.
Aye.
Luke Torian.
Aye.
Pia Trigiani.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that motion passes.
It's terrific. Thank you so much. And thanks and congratulations to Leah. Leah, we'd love to give you a few minutes if you want to make any comments.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to help Go Virginia evolve in its new form and fashion. And I look forward to serving in this role. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Leah. We look forward to it as well. The next
Chair.
item in our pack, excuse me?
Madam Chair, this is Ken Johnson. I did have a question that I asked during the last meeting. How long is that term?
Mr. Johnson, that would be a 2-year term with the option of being renewed once
Thank you
for a
so
1-year
much.
term.
Okay, good deal.
Thanks for the question. Okay, we'll move around along on our agenda then. The next item is the Deputy Director's report. And for that, I'd like to turn it over to Sarah.
Thank you. I'm going to share a few slides just to facilitate this portion of the meeting. So, all right. The first thing I'd like to ask is, can everyone see that slide? Good. Okay, fantastic. DHCD received 6 applications ahead of the application deadline for March and June meeting. These applications represent proposals from each of the regions per capita allocation. And if you remember, per capita are the portion of the fund that are distributed based on population. 4 out of 9 regions have participated in this particular round, and there are a number of interesting industry targets of focus for this round. We definitely see emphasis on advanced manufacturing, agriculture, food, beverage manufacturing, information, emerging technology, the energy sectors represented, business services, life sciences and biotech, transportation, manufacturing, and autonomy. In terms of investment strategies, we have 4 workforce development projects to talk to you about today, 1 site development project, and 1 project that identifies as a cluster scale up. And again, for members, cluster scale up involves scaling up an industry cluster and new opportunities. I would like to just pause and thank the members of the work groups who helped us in the review of these applications. That includes board members Todd Stadlemeyer, John King, Jim Dyke, John Peterson, Leah Freemow, Emily O'Quinn. It also includes subject matter experts, and that includes Sean Terrell, Director of Grants Management at Reynolds Community College, Jesse Fritz, who's a Senior Business Manager at VEDP, Chandler Vaughn, who's a Senior Broadband Policy Analyst here at DHCD, his associate Amnar Al-Amari, Grace Festa, Industry District Director of Pharmaceuticals at the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, Dr. Angela Lawhorn, Director of Career Education and Workforce Partnerships at the VCCS Systems Office, Conaway Haskins, who serves as the Vice President of Entrepreneurial Ecosystems at VIPC. After the presentation of all applications, Chair Agee is going to call for a discussion and a vote. These 6 for in front of you today fit under those categories of investment strategies that I have mentioned. So I do believe now, Ben, to your question, would be an opportunity. After I review these, Ben Davenport, if you have a conflict you'd like to declare, we need to remove that particular application, vote on it independently so that we can capture your vote and your recusal on that particular item. So if I could go through all of them, Madam Chair, we could pause and see if there are any others that folks would like to pull out for various reasons, and then we'll do the block vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just explain, especially for our new members, the application process. I think it's good to just kind of touch on this again. All the applications before you have already been vetted and approved by their regional councils. That is this point in the project development cycle. They are sent to DHCD, the work group, which includes subject matter experts and board members, as I just mentioned, reviews those applications, makes a recommendation based on those discussions, any supplemental materials received from the applicants. And that recommendation is what we're here to discuss as the state board makes a final determination on these projects. The evaluation criteria that my team is looking for: regional collaboration. Each project has to have meaningful participation of 2 or more localities, collaboration with industry and other partners. Also looking for economic impact and economic benefit to the Commonwealth. That focus on 1 or more of the industries in each region's growth and diversification plan is critical. the degree to which these projects are leveraging non-state resources, because match is required for all projects, and well-defined outcomes and any deliverables in the way of products. Project readiness, we're looking for partner commitments, match resources that are in place, and an understanding of key milestones and a timeline to actually execute. And finally, sustainability. The first project I'd like to share with you today is from Region 1. This is from the United Way of Southwest Virginia. They are requesting $491,000 to increase the pool of qualified candidates in the advanced manufacturing, agriculture, food and beverage manufacturing, information technologies, and energy and mineral clusters. And these are all priorities in their growth and diversification plan. This project will add 5 new career connection labs. During the grant period, the applicants indicated almost 2,000 students will be trained on this curriculum. 18 businesses will be served. And not noted here, but I think important to recognize that educators in the region are going to be trained in the use of the curriculum and all the tools that are in the Career Connection Lab. So this is the first step on a very, I think, robust career pathway in Southwest Virginia. Based on work group discussion and application review, we are recommending this project for approval. The next project I would like to share with you is called Educating Engineers for the Region 2 Workforce. The applicant is Randolph College, but I would just like to note the participating localities, Amherst County, Nelson, and the city of Lynchburg. The industry targets are information technology and emerging technologies, and the investment strategy is workforce development. The goal of this project is to expand the pool of qualified candidates in this multidisciplinary engineering program. It is going to be quite a collaboration between local colleges, school systems, and employers who are all going to be participating on an advisory board. So it is definitely a systems big S thinking approach. It will include dual enrollment opportunities in partnership with Central Virginia Community College as the central hub for dual enrollment opportunities in the region. Partners will serve on the advisory board to ensure that the program curriculum remains relevant. This application received quite a bit of industry support. It is also going to offer a phase 2 FNUC certification, and that is a company that has operations in Virginia and produces robotic equipment. And so they will be a key partner in this effort as well. And it will be the only Region 2 engineering program offering this certification. The outcomes is listed here: 40 students trained, new internship opportunities created, and the certifications that will be received by students receiving this education will be added to the pool of labor. Based on work group discussion and application review, staff is recommending this project for approval. The next project we're going to discuss today is developing IT and cybersecurity certification pipeline to advance cluster growth, ITCCP. This project seeks to increase the number of certifications earned in the information technology field through a partnership between Radford and involvement with the Commonwealth Cybersecurity Initiative, the Southwest Virginia node. The project team is going to convene meetings between representatives at Virginia Tech, Radford, and New River community colleges and businesses in the region to enhance communication within the cluster. Specifically, these resources, and their request is $202,000, are going to create a Pearson VUE testing center. For folks in the information technology world, there are a number of certifications that are issued by third parties, but for students or individuals to receive these certifications, they have to take the exam at a VUE certified testing site, and there is not one in this part of the region. So students, for example, that are getting trained at area colleges to achieve these industry recognized credentials or to earn them don't have an opportunity or location to take the exam, and businesses that similarly want to get their associates appropriately credentialed. And in some fields, cybersecurity is one. It is not a nice to have, it is a must have certification. You can see the outcomes that will be achieved during the grant period, but a reminder, especially for our new members, all of these investments are designed with sustainability in mind. So this center is going to continue to produce results, I think, for the New River Valley and moving forward. We're recommending this one for approval. The next project is called GoTech Region 3 Expansion. This project was actually received during the March application cycle, but we did not have a quorum, could not act on this. They are requesting $489,000 to increase the pool of workers to support advanced manufacturing, business services, and the IT data cluster in Region 3. This project will add 2 new career connection labs, one in Henry and one in Brunswick. For folks who weren't here at the beginning, I believe these are one of the final, not the final, I think there may be one other locality in Region 3 to join the GoTech movement. The project will add 2 career connection labs, as I've mentioned, and they are requesting funds for equipment. Matching funds are going to be provided by area school divisions who are committing their faculty and additional equipment to the effort. The project will also add a 9th to 10th grade bridge pilot program in Henry County. And so this is going to help ensure, develop a strategy, if you will, to make sure students who are getting touched by these career exploration modules and hands-on training move on in their educational experience and continue to skill build towards those target occupations in those industries that I've mentioned. They are also proposing to add equipment for currently taught modules in 12 middle schools with existing labs. And some of the equipment was named in the application. They are also proposing to add welding tools and supplies at Patrick Henry Community College, building on some additional work that they're doing around their welding hub. You can see the outcomes that are defined there. 300 in the middle school career connection labs, 100 in the pilots, and 88 as part of the community college welding component, and the addition of the middle school labs. Based on work group discussion and application review, staff recommends this project for approval at a reduced amount. And that amount is $302,689.55. This would be inclusive of the career connection labs, the 9th and 10th grade pilot programs, and other associated costs. The Patrick and Henry Community College investment was for consumables for an existing welding program, and in our review would not represent additional capacity. And I do think that the idea of replenishment of equipment at career connection labs that have already been funded by Go Virginia goes against some of the fundamental principles. The sustainability of those projects were described in the initial applications. And so for that reason, we're recommending a reduced funding amount. The next project is Citizens Middle Mile Broadband. This project came to us from Region 2. That is Blacksburg, Roanoke, Lynchburg for our new members. I should have a map and maybe some of our existing members as well. The applicant Citizens Cooperative has requested $378,000 to extend middle mile open access fiber optic infrastructure to business and industrial parks in Region 2. Their middle mile network is all buried fiber. Citizen proposes to extend the fiber using established contractor relationships and handle, of course, all the engineering, splicing, equipment installations. In the application and budget, Go Virginia funds would be used for construction of the middle mile expansion fiber in an industrial park called Shadon in Dublin Industrial Parks. And the Appalachian Regional Commission, which is a federal funding resource, was presented as the match for this project. Based on the work group discussion and application review, staff recommends deferring this project. And for members who are new, a deferral simply means that Go Virginia Region 2 has an opportunity to revisit the application, refine it, and staff here at DHCD will provide technical assistance in the event they want to bring it back for the September round. Okay, I've got 3 projects, but I'm going to present this one and then I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview. The next 3 projects, the first of which is being proposed to be funded entirely out of the Go Virginia Region 4 per capita pool. So there is per capita funds, which are allotted to each region based on population, and then there is a statewide competitive fund. This first of these projects would be funded out of the per capita fund. It is really representing a 3-part approach to accelerate Virginia to become a premier destination for biotech startups. I use biotech in the broadest phrase because I think all of these applicants in regions have unique capabilities. So I don't want to oversimplify, but life sciences, biotech, biomedical, and by extension, really the whole ecosystem. I do want to just remind members that during the 2024 General Assembly session, there were some substantial investments, in fact, $90 million, which will be administered by the Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation. These investments were designed to go into public universities, the 3 that you see here on the screen: University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, VCU, and I would like to mention Old Dominion University has also been included, although we are not going to discuss an application from Region 5 today. There was not one submitted. So really, these investments are geared toward enhancing or accelerating the capacity of these research universities to develop state-of-the-art treatments and therapeutics through research scientists. So principally, these funds are designed to help expand some of the capacity on the research side. Project Vital, and again, I'll give you that acronym here. They are proposing that 3 research universities are working with key nonprofits in each region to develop an ecosystem for growth and opportunity in the biotech industry. Centralization of key assets to benefit the entire industry include accelerator programming, referral networks, startup pipelines, scientific expertise, shared equipment and space, joint procurement agreements, and relationships that will enhance the venture capital flowing into firms in this particular industry. Verge is the applicant from Region 2, Activation Capital from 4, and Seville BioHub from Region 9. They are proposing as a collective to deliver, I think, some really significant statewide assets. They're listed here on your screen, including a performance dashboard for all of these projects and the industry writ large, a life science IP directory, which would be available, startup capital company and talent pitch books, not just for one region, but for all of the firms in the 3 regions represented here, a shared life science mentor or advisory pool, just really understanding that firms in this area need very specialized support and services and mentors who have experience. On the shared service networks side, the applicants have described specialized programming and events, expanded access to specialized equipment and network, asset maps for resource sharing, some of which has developed, and we're excited to see how that can build, and then statewide network of lab and office space. And again, when we're talking about what lab space to do some of this work, it's highly specialized. The first project, and again, this one's from the per capita application, is Region 4 Project Vital. Participating localities include the city of Richmond, Chesterfield County, and Henrico County. The lead applicant here is an organization called Activation Capital. They're requesting $5 million to support the accelerated growth of the life science and bioscience industry in the region. They have a multifaceted approach to grow this industry, the first of which is strengthening the region's pipeline of research and intellectual property. Different than the other investment, which I've described in the budget, they are going to be conducting an assessment and prioritization of work done at VCU, Virginia State University, and by area life science companies. They are also going to be engaging a third party to assist with the feasibility assessment and registration of high value intellectual property. And that really puts it in a position where these institutions can enter into licensing agreements, and this technology can move its way forward into the stream of commerce. In addition, there are going to be mentors engaged and commercialization consultants to assist researchers. Assistance will also be provided to life science startup firms through contractors to identify and advise on sources of public and private capital. I would like to note all of these applications we're going to talk about today have some very significant goals for capital raise, and it is really critical to support firms at this early stage with various types of capital, including venture capital and other sources. The outcomes are listed here during the grant period, and they are all requesting a 3-year grant period. They project that 15 new businesses will be created, 138 businesses will be actively served, 165 entrepreneurs or founders will be engaged, 75 million in capital will be raised to support the industry, 150 patents will be filed. Staff is recommending this project approval with contingencies. Specifically, we've got some work to do on match verification. So at DHCD, we qualify all of the match to make sure it represents a true cost share in the effort. That is a task. We also want to make sure that we are doing our work to lash all this together really as part of a statewide strategy for life sciences and biotech. Go Virginia has a history of investing in this space. And we want to make sure we're bringing other agency partners like the Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation that I think would add incredible value. Secretary Merrick.
Madam Chair,
Thank you. I appreciate that. It wasn't clear to me that when we should ask questions. And I appreciate, Sarah, that you talked about a statewide strategy, which obviously would need to be regional, and the role of the VIPC, which by statute is the organization in Virginia that is meant to actually make direct investments and have funds of funds and should be really integrally involved in this and take a leadership role. The Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation also already has relationships with the 3 applicants in each and every region, and also has access now to couple $100 million from the federal government through the State Small Business Credit Initiative, both in funds, setting up funds, and direct investments. And so I believe that we need to do a little bit of work on this whole program to better integrate with the VIPC having a leading role, and to have a statewide strategy that is regional. And Sarah, you have mentioned to me that there are a lot of plans done on the regional level. And I believe you and I have discussed this, doing a literature review and putting all this into a strategy for Virginia that we're all singing from the same hymn book on. And then I would also say, I think we need to do a little bit more work on what the metrics are and how we're going to get there and how we're going to have those benchmarks of metrics to really help mentor and guide this because these are significant amount of money. I think some of the largest grants that Go Virginia will ever have given, and then individually and certainly in the aggregate. So I welcome other folks' thoughts on this.
Thanks, Secretary Merrick. I think that Cree Deeds had his hand up first. Senator Deeds?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you. My only concern is that I will make an amendment at some point to include the Virginia Economic Development Partnership and the Virginia Catalyst as potential partners and MOUs with these 3 organizations. I honestly, I think we have an incredible potential with all 3 of these applications, all 3 of these possibilities. But I think we shouldn't just limit ourselves to VIPC.
And Mr. Peterson, I think I saw your hand up next. Or maybe Ken Johnson.
yes, Madam Chair, I just need to recuse myself from this one or abstain on the vote because I have conflict with working with some of the firms associated with it.
Understood. Secretary Merrick, maybe we want to pull these 3 and be able to vote on our other things and then come back to a discussion here. Would that be appropriate?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Sarah, let's go ahead and get the information out, and then we'll pull these 3 and have a separate discussion about them and vote on the others. Is that all right?
Yes, that's fantastic.
Hey, Nancy, I think Haywood has hand up.
Yeah,
Haywood?
I just need to abstain from all three of these because they work together and I'm on the Verge board. And so I'm uncomfortable voting on any of the three, although I'm very much in favor of biomedical investment by the Commonwealth of Virginia.
That's great.
Thank you.
I think procedurally, Nancy, if it's okay, I'd like to just finish the presentation. And then we need a motion by a member to pull those applications and a second. And then we'll vote on anything that's remaining in the stack. When we move on to discussion, any individual members that would like to recuse themselves from the vote for the three vital projects, we'll just need to get that on record and keep that organized a little bit.
Yes, that works. If you could go ahead and finish the presentation, I think that'll be helpful, and then we'll see if there's a motion to pull.
All right, that's fantastic. So the second project I'd like to share with you today is in Region 2, also under the title of Project Vital. The applicant Verge is requesting $4.95 million also to support the accelerated growth of life sciences and biotechnology industry in the region. They are going to be, Verge is going to be leading this effort in partnership with organizations from across the region. And I would just like to note all of the regional support for this project. The participating localities include the city of Roanoke, city of Salem, Montgomery County, Roanoke County, Botetourt County, Allegheny County, Franklin County, the city of Covington, Floyd County, Giles County, Pulaski County, the city of Radford. To address business development and asset development, Verge is proposing to partner with Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic to provide services that will promote the development of startups in the region. These activities include a host of biotechnology-focused boot camps, networking, and marketing initiatives under the Verge umbrella, and a new biotechnology program called Venture Bridge. Carilion Clinic will assist startups in attaining FDA compliance, while also providing translational usability for innovative medical devices. Virginia Tech proposes offering assistance to founders through the formation of an alumni mentorship network and the development of an expedited lab to market work group geared towards creating a fast track towards licensing, as well as business assistance in the form of tailored technical assistance to be awarded on a competitive basis through the proof of concept grant program. To address capital development, Verge will partner with Virginia Tech to develop paths for startups in the region to access capital investment. They also propose to address capital development through new programming and curriculum focused on teaching startups about capital market research, venture finance, etc. And they're also going to provide facilitated access to investors, including expanding its staff to include an expert entrepreneur in residence really focused on biotechnology. There are also talent development elements, looking at not just talent development, but attraction and retention. They are going to be partnering with Virginia Tech, Radford University, Roanoke College, Hollins University, the Blue Ridge Partnership for Health Science Careers, and Virginia Western Community College. They will be working to engage middle and high school students as well to build that farm team, if you will, for life science and biotech in the region. Go Virginia funding is going to support those efforts. In terms of outcomes, and again, this is just during the grant period, 42 employees upskilled, 406 jobs created, filled, 100 businesses served, entrepreneurs engaged, mentors as well, and $55 million of new capital raised. We would like to amend our original staff recommendation, and I'm going to tell you why. There were some questions regarding the proof of concept grant component, and as everyone knows here, Go Virginia funds can't be used as a direct incentive to any individual business. This program really is about adding new system capacity and providing access. So it has been explained to us and verified that the proof of concept program is not a cash grant. It is really a service, and the expanded investment will allow Virginia Tech to accept an additional 15 companies for their highly specialized services. So we are recommending full approval with the same contingency as the Region 4 application we just discussed, is that is really entering into more formal partnering agreements with other state agencies and partners. And of course, all of the regular elements of DHCD's contracting process would be in place. So this would be, again, just in the spirit of collaboration and that is our recommendation. Finally, Region 9.
And Sarah, just let me connect the dots here. So when we had a written comment, it was about this project and full funding, which you've just addressed, but
That's
to remind
correct.
everybody of that written comment.
Thank you. We did have written comment, and we had a number of communications with the applicant and the Region 2 Council to get clarification on the proof of concept grant component, which is why we're bringing you this on the floor revision to our staff recommendation. Region 9 Project Vital, the applicant is Seville BioHub. They're requesting $4.3 million also to support the accelerated growth of the biomedical technology industry cluster in the region. They are going to be doing some similar yet different activities. I think the most significant is this project is going to create Region 9's first ever wet lab space and accelerator service. So currently there is not any lab space accessible off campus. And that is an important requirement for firms to be able to demonstrate they're not just researching this in a university laboratory, but they have the intention of taking this out and actually building a business. There's also going to be some really interesting programming, intensive hands-on assistance to early stage companies. The project will also provide programming to the broader biotechnology community in the Charlottesville region, and also introduce an internship component, which is going to give students trained at the University of Virginia and elsewhere an opportunity to work with high growth potential companies in the life science biomedical sector in Region 9. You can see the outcomes listed here. And again, all of the applicants had very quantifiable outcomes and work plans, which we would incorporate into any contracts and track those results over time. I would like to draw your attention to all of these have at some level activities related to generating and filing patents for intellectual property, supporting businesses, expanding businesses, creating jobs, and raising capital. We're recommending this project for approval with a similar contingency to the Region 4 project, which again is really just to lash all three of these efforts together with some of the great work that's happening at the state level as well. The next project is the Shenandoah Valley Workforce Development Talent Pathways Initiative. Apologize for the acronym. We just couldn't get it all on the slide. You can see the participating localities there. This is an expanded planning grant, and the goal here is to determine gaps and opportunities to expand the workforce. We are recommending this project for approval.
Okay, Sarah, thank you. So we have an opportunity to vote on all of these as a block. I think there's been several folks who need to abstain depending on which ones of these. And then we've also had some commentary about pulling the Vital project and discussing it separately. So let's take questions. I'm not sure this is following Robert's rule perfectly, but let's take questions at this point, and then we'll decide what we're going to be doing about voting. I saw Senator Deeds hand up, I think. Senator Deeds?
And Nancy, I was just going to move that we consider the Vital project separately so I can offer my amendment. So I'd move that we separate those from the other recommendations.
Okay.
All right. There is a request, a motion to separate Vital, those three projects, and take them separately. Is there a second?
Second, this is Leah.
Leah, second. Do we need roll call?
Nancy, I think a member can simply request that any items be removed from the block. And so I think we have a member on record to remove the three Vital projects. If you think it's appropriate, we could vote on the others and then move on to the discussion.
I think that's appropriate without us having to do another roll call. Suits me just fine. I saw a couple other hands up though. Are there anything else? Well, if you are willing, we will vote on all the projects as a block accept the 3 vital projects, and we'll take those with further discussion in just a minute. Ben
Nancy.
Davenport, I think you want to abstain with the
Yeah.
GoTech. Yeah.
That's right, on the per capita application for GoTac Region 3 expansion.
Okay.
Perfect. And Secretary Cummings, I see your hand up.
Yeah, could I ask on the projects that are expansions or whatever, a continuation? It doesn't have in there whether or not the metrics that were from previous segments of that have been met or exceeded. And I think that'd be a good thing to include in this in general. And I just assume that if they're coming for an expansion, that is the case. Is that correct?
Great question. One we've been mulling around is how to demonstrate the metrics. Sarah, do you want to respond?
Sure. Secretary Cummings, that is always a part of our review process. If we do have an applicant that we have experience with on another project, we do go back and look at their results as well. And that kind of comes into project readiness and the capability of the organization that's requesting funds. I do think it is time, specifically with GoTech, and I was talking with ILR this morning, to come and talk about the collective results of that type of a project, but there may be others. If there's anything that we could bring into frame on the board summaries or during our discussions in the future, we're happy to do that. So thanks for that.
I would suggest you include that in your executive summary, just so it's a, whether it's good news or a question mark is registered so we can understand that if it's not.
Good.
It's my suggestion.
Good. And Nancy, I do think I would just recommend that we
Agreed.
also pull the GoTech project. And I'm not sure if Mr. Davenport would like to abstain from the Region 3 project or the Region 1 project. I think the Region 3, but I'm not certain. But that we may want to vote on that separately as well, so we can record his abstention in isolation from the rest of the pack.
Okay. Do we need clarification on whether it's Region 1 or Region 3? Ben, is it the Region 3 that you want to pull?
Well, it was Region 3 that I focused on. But if the applicant is the institute in Region 1, then I should also recuse myself on that.
They are not. The United Way of Southwest Virginia is the applicant, Nancy, if that's helpful.
That's helpful.
that's what I
Thank you.
thought.
So we will vote on Region 3's application separately. Okay, so for all of the others, we can vote on all the others as a block as presented by Sarah with the recommendations. I need a motion to move forward. Is there a motion?
So moved from Cliff.
So moved.
And sounds like a second from Emily. Thank you.
Yes, second.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. I believe we need a roll call. Cody.
Nancy Agee,
Aye.
Jim Chang,
Aye.
Steve Cummings,
Aye.
Ben Davenport,
Aye.
Craig Deeds,
Aye.
Jim Dyke, Cliff Fleet,
Aye.
Haywood Fralin,
Aye.
Leah Fremel,
Aye.
Don Scott, Bill Holtzman,
Aye.
Ken Johnson,
Aye.
Terry Kilgore, John King, Eloise Lucas,
Aye.
Ryan McDougall, Mr. McDougall, did I just hear you? Karen Merrick,
Aye.
Michelle Maldonado,
Aye.
Emily O'Quinn,
Aye.
John Peterson,
Aye.
Todd Stottlemyre,
Aye.
Luke Torian,
Aye.
Pietrangeli.
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes.
Thank you all. Now let's also take a roll call for the GoTech from Region 3 project.
Yes.
Cody, if you could do roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Nancy Agee,
Aye.
Jim Chang, Jim Chang, Secretary Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Davenport,
Abstain.
Senator Deeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fleet,
Aye.
Mr. Freyland,
Aye.
Ms. Freymouth,
Aye.
Speaker Scott, Mr.
Aye.
Holtzman. Oh,
Aye.
gotcha. Mr. Holtzman,
Aye.
Kenneth Johnson,
Aye.
Senator Lucas,
Aye.
Senator McDougal,
Aye.
Secretary Merrick,
Aye.
Delegate Maldonado,
Aye.
Ms. O'Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Stottlemyre,
Aye.
Delegate Torian,
Aye.
and Ms. Trigiani.
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben, for pulling that. You know, I just have to say that sometimes when these projects come all the way up to us, it might feel a little perfunctory or even pedantic to sort of go through this. These are tremendous projects making a huge difference all across the Commonwealth. And I think, you know, we can just pause for a minute and say how exciting it is that we're investing in the future of the Commonwealth and the economy. And we're seeing regional support and all the things that we thought Go Virginia was going to do. It's doing right in front of us. So thank you all for going through this process, listening carefully. So let's pull the conversation about the 3 projects that are entitled Vital, and have some conversation. And Secretary Merrick, you might want to start because you first brought it up. And I think you're right that there's tremendous opportunity to have the connectivity, the connective tissue, as it were, that can draw in all sorts of resources to really forward life sciences. And I know Sarah's very aware of that, as is her agency. So love your comment. And then I think Senator Deeds has an amendment to make.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we recently concluded a Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation board meeting, and we reviewed again the statute for the VIPC. And this is in the bullseye of the statute for the VIPC. And the VIPC is in a really good position because it is a statewide organization and it makes investments in every regional ecosystem that we have. And we know that it's better to work together, which is the point of Go Virginia, and Go Virginia does that very well. And the leaders of Vital, I commend them on coming together in this really innovative way. I support the idea. I support the goals as an entrepreneur and investor myself, investing in and starting and growing a number of companies in Virginia. I know how important it is that we focus, but I also know that not all programs are created equally, and that we need metrics to understand what it is we're trying to achieve and how we're going to get to those metrics, like $75 million. I mean, I've been in a lot of angel funds, and if that was the goal for my angel fund to have $75 million of capital investment into the companies that I have done, that I've invested in, I'd have a plan. I'd know that. And I'd also have experience doing that. And so I want to make sure that we're connected with the VIPC, that that has a lot of that core expertise and business processes. And I also want us to really think hard on what are these metrics and how are we going to get there? And how do we measure along the way with this significant source of funding that Go Virginia would be investing in these programs? How are we going to measure in an incremental way so that we can pivot when we need to? Because this is big and it's new. And I think we all need to be working in a more collaborative, coordinated way with more accountability. Thank you.
So very exciting. I think music to our ears. We certainly want the metrics. That's something that's been critical to our success in the past and continues to be. Perhaps reading these, if you read these in detail, that a lot of that information is more clear. And like we said, the connectivity, especially with VIPIC, could be fantastic. Senator Deeds, you had your hand up and I know you would like to make an amendment.
And I did. I want to make an amendment. I don't disagree with anything the secretary said. I honestly think these three projects could be the future of economic growth in Virginia. My only concern is that we limit it somewhat by tying it to VIPC only. I think VIPC was aware of these projects before they came to the board and sent them to Go Virginia because I think that we would probably do ourselves a favor if we broadened the scope of who these project leaders can consult with or enter into a MOU with. And so what I've got written here is, let's see, the memorandum of understanding with each of the three would be amended to say that the memorandum language with other state authorities that can provide additional collaborative support, including but not limited to the following: VIPC, the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and Virginia Catalyst. The Department of Housing and Community Development's Go Virginia staff shall draft the MOU with Project Vital applicant leadership and oversee project collaboration. That's the amendment I would make, and I would basically make that to all three. And I think it's vital that we get this right.
Terrific. Thank you for that. Not sure procedurally, I see Secretary Cummings' hand up. Do we need a second to the amendment before we move forward to further conversation? Cody.
Madam Chair, I think we do need a second and we need to do a roll call to ratify the amendment before we go on to vote on the full motion.
So Secretary Cummings and Mr. Johnson, I see both your hands up. If you'll hold your question until we follow the procedure. We need a second to Senator Deeds' amendment.
Louise Lucas, second.
Thank you, Senator Lucas. Let's do roll call.
Bear with me for just a second. I'm going to make sure I record this.
Can I just clarify?
Of course.
So if you, Senator Deeds, if you wouldn't mind rereading that, I want to make sure I understand it. In concept.
I want to make sure I've got it right here. Let's see. It would essentially read on all three of them that recommend the project and accompanying local and total match waivers for approval contingent on verification, follow-up, and finalization of a memorandum of understanding with the other state authorities that can provide additional collaborative support, including but not limited to the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and Virginia Catalyst.
That's right.
The Department of Housing and Community Development's Go Virginia staff shall draft the MOU with Project Vital applicant leadership and oversee project collaboration.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Yep, very much for me.
And Senator Lucas, that you're seconding that amendment, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okie dokie. Cody, roll call.
Got it. Ms. Agee.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Secretary Cummings.
Aye.
Mr. Davenport.
Aye.
Senator Deeds.
Aye.
Mr. Dyke. Mr. Fleet,
Aye.
Mr. Fralin,
Aye.
Ms. Freymel,
Aye.
Speaker Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Holtzman,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Ms. Johnson, you're muted.
If this is for the amendment, aye.
Yes, it is for the amendment. I will record you as aye. Delegate Kilgore, Mr. King, Senator Lucas,
Aye.
Senator McDougal,
Aye.
Secretary Merrick,
Yes.
Delegate Maldonado,
Aye.
Ms. O'Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Stottlemyre,
Aye.
Delegate Torian,
Aye.
and Ms. Trigiani.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the amendment passes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Senator Deeds. Now, we had several questions before we went into roll call, and I think the first was Secretary Cummings.
Yeah, I'm new to this. I guess really first became aware of it a week or so ago, and I've been looking at a lot of other past documents just to get caught up on all the information. And I think this is a fantastic program. Obviously, in each region, there's already an existing infrastructure around these activities and different levels of development in Charlottesville, Roanoke, and Richmond. And Nancy, you may be the only one who's kind of spearheading one of those regions on this board. That may be wrong, but some of this is written in a way that would suggest these new entities are going to become the new funnel for activity, like IP is one in particular that's in my head. And my guess is that in each region, that has already been developed to some extent within each region. And this is just a broad question, the assumption is that those existing entities, whether they're accelerators, the universities, other things that have spun out of this, have all been part of the planning of these three new entities. Maybe they're not all new, but it's in the overall goal of having a coordinated, collaborative, statewide strategy, which I think really culminated in this $117 million investment in the last budget to create the research triangle. That all has to become the guiding light, right?
Yeah.
And is it accurate? I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but accurate to say that really has been the guiding light for the development of the strategies in each of the three regions?
I can speak to that, Nancy.
Okay, Sarah.
Might be more appropriate. I mean, I think you're exactly right, Secretary Cummings, that these are not new organizations. So I just want to be clear, but what they are doing is introducing new assets and new programming to complement the $117 million investment that you just described. And they have been developed collaboratively and in partnership with their universities. For example, in Region 9, Seville BioHub, and Nikki Hastings, the director of that program, is here with us. That is, UVA is actually providing the space to develop the wet lab, and Seville BioHub is going to be developing some really robust programming and technical assistance for firms that are going to be operating out of that space. Similarly, Virginia Tech is making some significant contributions, working collaboratively with Verge and Activation Capital. These are not new organizations. We are not creating new funnels, to use your phrase. In fact, I think what we're doing is strengthening the existing funnels and making them much more focused and targeted to produce results, as you've described. Metrics and outcomes are a big part of the Go Virginia program. Todd Stottlemyre is leading the program performance and evaluation committee. And we have reviewed all of our core grant outcomes. The outcomes that you see on these slides are incorporated into our contracts. Recipients of Go Virginia funds are required to report quarterly on their progress. not just how quickly or not they're spending money, but how those results are appearing during the grant period. And then we do have a fiscal and performance closeout process as well. So that's, all of that was considered in our review and our grant administration practices here at DHCD. I think we'll address some of the other questions that have been brought forward by the members here.
Okay.
Does that help, Secretary Cummings?
Yeah,
This is, okay. This
I-
is
I'd say
new and
that
it's going to be a little clunky, I'm sure, but it's important. I think it's really important for us to forward this work and do it so in a big way.
Yeah, I guess going back to, I think where we started is maybe a little bit of extra time to understand what those metrics are going to be that are going to be in the MOU. And now if VIPC is by statute supposed to provide that, but these other organizations should surely be leveraged, to Senator Deed's point, that maybe some of that be further clarified before we say go with the release of funds. That's I don't want to get cart before horse, I guess, is my concern. Is there's a significant investment through Go Virginia from the general fund. That's what I want to make
Nancy,
sure we're really clear.
Nancy, can I add to that?
Sure,
It's simple
Mr.
that
Johnson.
just from a consistency standpoint, I think I mentioned this last year, that if we could be more consistent as to how we apply the metrics and outcomes, and develop a process around it, so that you don't know if it's random or how it's done. If we've done work with these other organizations prior and then they come back to the table, I think it's only fair that there's an attachment to the document that shows their performance levels and what they've done in the past.
The good comment. That I think what I'm hearing from both of you is really want to understand better metrics, and the measurement process may not be as transparent as we'd like. So there's a ton of work that goes on in terms of the metrics process. We can certainly pull forward more information and do so not just with these projects, but in an ongoing way. So thank you for that clarification. Other comments? Leah?
Yeah, thank you. And this might be more a question for Sarah. Some of these things with these adjustments, as far as, the edits to the recommendation around other agencies and authorities being part of an MOU process, would something like that typically be done at the contract level? Like once we've, approved the grants, and then staff working with the awardees to kind of hammer out these details and make sure that what we approved at the board is implemented and detailed in the contract process. Is that accurate? Because some of this might be fleshed out there. That is part of that process.
Thank you, Leah. Secretary Cummings, I'll add to some of your thoughts there. I mean, I do think that there's value in creating, I would say, one, lashing these partners together, right? But also helping them connect and access other state resources, and also to make sure that any additional state resources applied to the effort being growing life science biotech, are not duplicative or redundant. We envision all that being done in advance of going to contract. So I think that it is important that all of those checks are in place. The outcomes associated with the activities funded are described in their application, and we'd be happy to, discuss with you any of the additional elements that any other state agency partners felt were relevant. And we want to be able to provide those to BIPC, for example, as they're considering similar agreements with the research institutions. We do obviously monitor performance, and I just want to comment, and I'm not trying to embarrass Nikki Hastings with Seville BioHub, for example, but they exceeded in every case, in some cases by 594%, the goals that they established for their project. So we, at a point a project's created, make note of those committed outcomes, track them through quarterly reports, and then there's a final performance closeout. So I can tell you within a range from 0 to, in this case, 594%. We had another project that we did the performance closeout. And on the capital raise side, they achieved, I don't even know how this is statistically possible, but 14,656% of goal. They originally committed to raise about $500,000 for supported firms and raised $73 million for supported firms. So I love it. Under promise, over deliver. But I think all of these things can be and will be rationalized before anything goes to contract. And at DHCD, we're happy to collaborate always with our agency partners to bring these things to ground.
And Sarah, you might comment that we don't give the money and then hope they spend it wisely.
Oh, goodness.
We're a reimbursement function. So they have to prove the metrics before we release the dollars.
That's right. So all Go Virginia funds are what we call reimbursement based, and that we're monitoring progress in this case over a 36-month period, not just to see how the money's being spent, but that the activities described, the milestones are being achieved, and we're seeing reasonable progress towards those goals. We work with the regional councils, and I would also like to give credit to the regional councils because they do oversight and monitoring of these projects as well. And oftentimes, not oftentimes, from time to time, bring to our attention projects they've got concerns about that may not be moving forward as quickly or in the direction they anticipated. And so we all come in quickly to try to provide them support. We've had good experience. I can just speak from Go Virginia's perspective with all of these applicants. I spoke to you about Seville BioHub just because, you know, one of my team members popped their performance closeout. We've been working on those today as a group. So those types of controls are in place. And, you know, we're happy to answer any questions about that.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, may I ask a question, or is there someone in line?
No, you may. I think we have time for perhaps one more question, and then we'll move to vote.
Okay, thanks. I'm really interested in something that Mr. Johnson said a minute ago about how we kind of establish metrics, and also having the board better understand what those are and how these are determined. The figures presented in the application have a lot of potential overlap and duplication, where you've got a lot of different fingers and folks involved in that, and how is that information captured? Is it self-reported? Is it directly from, I mean, I think you get what I'm saying. Then how will we truly be moving the baseline up of startups and investments and patents? Because the VIPC is working on this, and then we have these accelerators that are working on this, and then we have some universities are working on this. And again, what I've seen in Virginia is a lot of brilliant people, but programs are not truly connected, and there's a lot of duplication of effort, and there's a lot of, we have so few resources to leverage. So I would suggest that we as a board think about a committee to better understand this, and even on this project in particular, to work on this so that we are all comfortable with it.
So Secretary Merrick, we do have a program performance and evaluation committee that Todd Stadlemeyer leads, and we have just recently completed a top to bottom review of core performance metrics for each of the 4 investment strategies that are in Go Virginia's portfolio. So those are known, they are defined, they are common. It is not random. From time to time, a project will have what we call project specific performance metrics, and we do incorporate those into contracts if we feel that they're, you know, relevant and contribute to Go Virginia's top line goals. Of course,
right.
You know, growing and diversifying Virginia's economy. But I don't want to create a committee on top of a committee we already have. I guess that's
thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Secretary. You know, I think one of the other gold standards is the JLARC report that we just had, and they doubled down on that and recommended that we have this committee, which is one of the reasons we started it and did a full review. Secretary Merrick, I think I cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, thank you. Well, see, I just have a simple example. I've attended a great number of these events. They've been a variety of events across the Commonwealth from some accelerators and whatnot, and people attend. And so I guess my question is, if someone attends that event and goes off and raises $80 million, do we take credit for that? Like, that's what I really want to know in terms of how do we measure our own impact and follow these companies through? And I think it's a pretty fair question for us to ask. And obviously there's concern amongst some of us on this board about that, which I want to say, I think it's significant that it's the Secretary of Finance and the Secretary of Commerce. I know we're just part of a bigger team, but I think it's significant that we have concerns.
Thank you. All right, are we ready? We've heard a lot of commentary. Are we ready to move to a vote of these 3 projects as a block? And if
Madam Chair,
so,
this does require a motion to approve as amended. I'll make that
it
motion.
does. Thank you, Senator Deeds. Is there a second?
Michelle Maldonado, second.
Thank you. We're going to call for a roll call, and I am personally abstaining because I am involved in Region 2. And Haywood, I think you likewise said you will be abstaining. I don't know if there's anyone else that needs to be, but just make that known when we have the roll call.
I said I was abstaining as well.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
I'm sorry, Chairman, I'm being slow, I think, sorry. But what exactly are we recommending here? Is it approval of all 3 grants, but subject to something?
We are recommending, the current vote would be that we move forward with the 3 projects with the amendment from Senator Deeds.
Okay.
The expectation then is that we understand that connective tissue, as it were, to all other agencies and potential funds that we're asking DHCD to organize.
Okay. I guess I am uncomfortable. I feel like this is very different from any other projects that we typically look at here, where you can measure jobs and other investments, as opposed to a highly complex coordination of 3 regional entities with a bigger strategy around life sciences. And I'm not sure that not knowing the details of the performance metrics committee, that typical metrics that this organization uses and that would make sure we stay aligned apply to this kind of a project. And it's the biggest project ever done by GovVirginia. I think that's accurate. So it's a lot of general fund money, and I'm reluctant to say I'm supportive that it goes off and the money is ready to go without some additional discussion about what exactly we're going to deem to measure success and the release of funds. Because I feel like the outcomes of this, where we have, investments, the stuff that's on the list, those are very late to come out of the other end of this. And I don't know how that ties to the release of funds.
Sarah, do you want to comment on this?
It's a very unique project. I think everybody would agree with that, and very complicated.
Sarah, do you want to comment on release of funds and how that's, if that's the question you're asking, Secretary Cummings, for some clarification?
Yeah.
Sure. So, we could certainly, these grants are reimbursable, so we require successful quarterly reports and documentation of all expenditures and obviously budgets that align with the project activities. In terms of complexity, we do have experience with multi-region projects, and I just want to be clear that these are presenting as 3 regional projects that are all operating under a single common umbrella, which I think aligns well and fits with other state investments that are being made. Delegate Victorian, did you have your hand up? I don't want to interrupt if you've got a thought.
No, please. I do have my hand up, but I'll wait until you finish.
Okay. So it is we have approved $5 million projects themselves. We have worked on projects not involving quite this much money but that involve more regions and collaboration contact points. And we've worked with many projects that have similar types of activities. And again, we do have a set of core performance outcomes in definitions. Now, I think we did have one question, and I'll address something Secretary Merrick had with regards to, do you count someone who came to a meeting and then ran into a venture capital fund manager while on vacation as a win? We do not. We have very specific definitions for all of our subgrantees of what a business served means. And that means they need to have an individualized service that's provided to them, a technical assistance aspect that can be measured, captured, and is delivered with the intention of creating an outcome. So just coming to a meeting certainly wouldn't cross that threshold. And then because these programs are designed in some cases to, in the area of capital access, for example, it is I would say it is a pathway to that outcome. I mean, the programs are all in their own way designed to produce that outcome. So the applicants are very vested in making sure that those outcomes are achieved, tracked, and reported.
Thank you, Sarah. Delegate Torian, I believe you had a hand up.
I do. I've listened to all of the concerns, and typically when we move projects forward, we have a great deal of more clarity when we're moving projects forward and more unanimity. Am I correct in my assessment?
Well, since I would say that's not always true, but since you've been on that, we've had several controversial votes, shall we say. We don't always agree together. And I think that's rather exciting. That's part of the maturation of our board, where we have questions and changes.
Nancy, could I introduce perhaps
follow up, please.
I do have a question from a follow-up. Yes, sir.
I'm not
Delegate Torian, you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. I'm not trying to. Well, I am. I'm doing a couple of things. One, I'm not trying to kill the project or anything of that nature, put it in jeopardy. But I am trying to slow the train down a little bit.
And I think Speaker Scott had a hand up. Speaker Scott?
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
here. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I was listening intently, everything. This is I guess my first meeting attending. And I guess my expectations for this project have not been met. I would probably, can you hear me? I think somebody leaning in. I don't know if you can hear me. Ms. AG, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You are quiet, but we can hear you.
Okay, let me see if I can get off this this device I'm on. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks. I said this is my first meeting, and I guess my expectations for a project like this are different. I thought it would be a little bit more succinct and precise and understandable, and understand what the outcomes and metrics and what the ROI and the whole nine. And I was listening for all of that. It sounds like with a project of this size that all of that is not at least not from what I understand or have heard. And I was briefed yesterday by staff. Thank you, Sarah, and your team. And even during that time, it was not clear fully. I don't know what the urgency is or not, because I just don't know if this is urgent enough that it's required. But if we're going to meet again in September on this, it would give us 90 days to be able to flesh this out and everybody feel more comfortable with it. So I would, at the appropriate time, be moving to table this particular with a new motion to table the issue and come back and because I think that supersedes the previous motion to table the issue. If I could get a second and give us time to all understand it better in 3 months and come back and vote on it. That's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Scott. You may be reading my mind a little bit. I I'm uncertain if there are old hands up or new hands up, but I think Speaker Scott's onto something. There seems to be enough question and concern that perhaps we are meeting again in September. We could move this to that retreat, Tom, to have a deeper conversation. Sarah, I think you had something you wanted to say.
Well, one thing that I was just going to recommend, and I appreciate the amended motion, and you guys can certainly vote on that. But one thing that I was going to, potentially offer up, if there's enough confidence in the applications, and please keep in mind that we do get a third party to validate the return on investment for all of these projects. If we included the entire application, your board packets would get pretty big, and Delegate Maldonado, we appreciate the recommendation that we include more detail on that point. It is in the board summary, and ROI, of course, is an evaluation criteria that we take pretty seriously. If the body elected, we could do what I would call a staged approval, which the Go Virginia State Board has done. Approved a project contingent on a future deliverable or discussion, and that could certainly happen, Nancy, at the September board meeting. So that can include actually defining the relationships among the MOU partners, providing more clarity if needed on the outcomes that are defined in each of the applications, and DHCD can certainly bring forward our plan and strategy to track all of the activities moving forward. So again, this board has done that, approved some things contingent on a second step process. No funds would be released until the board received that information and affirmed its value as it relates to these conversations. So that's just another recommendation.
So let me create some clarity here. I see several hands popping up, but we do have a motion on the table that's been seconded to approve the 3 projects together as a block with Senator Deed's amendment that was also approved, seconded. I think procedurally we need to vote on that. And if we
There's a motion to table, wasn't there?
Well, it's a second motion.
Yeah, that overrides the original motion.
Motion to table, takes presumptive. Yep.
Yeah, that overrides the original motion.
You got to vote on that one first. Yep.
So let's go to that motion, and I think that Delegate Torian made that motion. We don't have a second. Is there a second?
No, Madam Chair, we stand corrected here. That motion comes from Speaker Scott, and I'm positioned to second it.
All right, there you go. We'll have roll call.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question of staff first? Sarah, what would be at stake if we delay this for 90 days? Are there opportunities we would lose?
That's a good question.
I mean, certainly it would delay the start date for all of these projects and initiatives. And I apologize. We've got one of the applicants who's got her hand so patiently raised, but we typically, Nikki, do not call on members of the public. And I don't know that it would be appropriate unless invited. But yes, I do think there's some things at stake. And there's a couple of agenda items which we haven't discussed yet that could impact the level of funding available for individual regions to support any of these initiatives. So I think what you lose is the expediency. You also lose the ability to connect to some of the other investments that will begin flowing on July 1, adjacent, right, to the universities. And so some of the activities I think that are really critical to helping to accelerate the growth of firms in this sector will be delayed. And then we do have one project that does involve some construction, and that is in Region 9. And I'll tell you that costs money every time. And so the build out of the lab space and the equipment that is needed would also be delayed.
Thank you for that question, Sarah. That's very helpful. Leah, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Nancy, to add onto that for Sarah, or excuse me, Sarah, to add on to previous question, if we don't approve this at this juncture, does it impact the recapture of some of our Go Virginia funds what's the dynamic there? If you could help, or if I'm conflating two different issues, but I just want to make sure I'm clear on that impact.
Yeah, I mean, there's two different issues. The recapture in the budget, the 28 million, that will happen. Now, how that will be distributed amongst the program funds would be different if these projects weren't funded at this time, but I don't want that necessarily to guide decisions. Now, the board does have a policy on a maximum carryover allowance, and that if regions funds can be swept into the statewide competitive fund for use on other projects. I think that is an issue, but I think it's one that could be overcome. But, again, I think all of the concerns that have been raised here, we have already put together a plan internally to address. I understand there's a lot of, this is significant investment, and I do appreciate sincerely the board's interest in making sure that these projects are successful. So.
Okay, so we have on the table.
Madam Chair, Don Scott, again.
Yes.
I'm willing to withdraw. I haven't listened to Sarah's comments about an option to let the program continue without the allocation of funds, or let the project be approved without the allocation of funds and come back in September and deal with that issue. I think that would be a good compromise to move forward it that way. I'll withdraw my motion to table it, and hopeful that we can vote this motion down, or someone will withdraw their motion with the motion that captures what Sarah said about approving the project to move forward with a further discussion about allocation of these huge resources. That gives us an opportunity to continue to evaluate it and then change our minds if we want to, but it would not prevent folks from applying for the money that may or may not become available July 1. So if that is, did I state that correct, Sarah? And if so, I would appreciate. I don't know.
Speaker Scott, you are withdrawing your motion, as I understand it, and will follow a process that's not new, not unique, but just a little different. And that is, if we approve this, we will watch over this carefully and assure that funds are not expended unless metrics are met. And we'll have a deeper conversation at our retreat about what the metrics are. Am I parroting you reasonably well, Speaker Scott?
Probably not. I'm difficult to parrot. I think the issue is making sure that we approve the concept of the project without allocating any funds at this time. And Sarah can, I guess, help me articulate that the appropriate way, because I want to make sure that we put the carrot out there and withhold the stick for now. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this. So, but I don't want to hold up the folks who've made these applications and they can be able to talk to their partners and say they have Go Virginia's approval, but they still have some work to do. So that's the kind of way I'm trying to articulate it. I don't know if I'm coming up with the right motion. Maybe some folks on this call that have done this a little longer, but I do feel the concern, and I do feel the obligation and responsibility to make sure we do this right with a project that's significant with investments this large. Thanks.
Secretary Cummings?
I just wanted to say, metrics is one thing, MOU is the other, and we don't have an MOU, which is going to be very complicated. I'm wholly in favor of this concept. I think it's critical, in fact, but I think this is one of those where I think you got to slow down to go fast. It's just a lot of moving parts, and we got to get the MOU right, and we got to get the metrics right. So I'm really concerned that we get going too quickly here without having those nailed down, and they become less important once we say, okay, we're a go. That's what I worry the focus is not as keen.
So Secretary Cummings and other members, I mean, just a reminder, when we approved the VAST project, which is the Virginia Alliance for Semiconductor Technology, it had a similar memorandum of understanding, and that was from 5 university partners, all signing off on that document as well, and an advisory committee and a steering committee that included members from VEDP and VIPC and other parties, including members of private industry. So we have experience with those types of MOUs. And so, we'll bring that to bear. One thing that, I want to assure you is we would not go to contract without an assigned MOU executed by all parties. And in fact, if you'd like for us to bring that back for the board's review, which would be similar to what we've done for other projects, approval contingent on achieving milestone 1, and milestone 1 is successfully negotiating these partnership agreements. And I think that could be an interesting approach.
Senator Deeds?
The only point I was going to make is that at some point we have to trust staff. Then the amended motion says that staff prepares the MOU, and certainly we can set up a protocol for approval of the MOUs by this board. But it's also my understanding that there are corporations involved in this, and they're matching grants that could conceivably will be lost if we don't act on this today.
Okay, I think we've all had lots to say about this, and there is some sense that these are big projects. People want to move forward. We do have a motion on the table with the amendment. I think it's time to move to vote unless there's any last minute comment that hasn't been said.
I want to thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you everyone for this thoughtful conversation. I agree with the speaker that, and what I believe I heard him say and move is that we approve it, but contingent. We're not committing any funds yet. We're approving the project and concept, but we still have work to do on it. Part of that work is the MOU. I appreciate what Senator Dean says about having the staff do that. I would say that, several of these agencies fall under commerce and trade. I will definitely be looking at this MOU as part of my role. And so, and I welcome anyone else from the board too, simply because it's the largest expenditure. And Sarah, I appreciate VAST. That was really groundbreaking and just a great example, but that was $3 million, a fifth of what we're talking about now. And so I share the speaker's concern, and I want to move forward specifically on what I think I heard him say, which is what Sarah said, which is we approve it in concept, keep moving forward, but you have work to do. The MOU is part of that work, and also just better understanding of what the metrics are. And this will be, as Secretary Cummings said, going slow to go fast.
Thank you for that.
Madam
Cody,
Chair, Madam Chair, you have a motion on, this is Pia. You have a motion on the floor on the table here that we need to make sure we understand what it is. I am now confused by what the motion is. I would suggest, and I think Speaker Scott was suggesting that the motion be withdrawn and restated. That may be the cleanest and most efficient way to do it. And I would suggest that's what we do.
Who made the motion? We got to remember. Let's see.
The original motion, I believe, was made by Senator Deeds. I think that's correct.
That's correct. I made the motion, and if
amendment
it to allow it to be restated will help things out, I'll do that. But I think this is something we ought to act on today. I think that this is one of the best opportunities we've had in a lot of years, and I honestly think it's the future of the Commonwealth.
I'm trying to look at everyone's Hollywood squares faces. So Senator Deeds, do you want to restate your motion?
Well, the motion as restated would, and I included all 3 regions in one, but they would be a little bit different. With respect to Region 4, it would read, we recommend this project and the accompanying local and total match waivers for approval contingent on verification follow-up and finalization of a memorandum of understanding with the other state authorities that can provide additional collaborative support, including but not limited to the following: the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and Virginia Catalyst. The Department of Housing and Community Development's Go Virginia staff shall draft the MOU with Project Vital applicant leadership and oversee project collaboration. With respect to Region 2, it would, again, I'm following staff's recommendation for the most
Right.
part. Recommend this project for approval at a reduced amount of $4,362,028 contingent on verification of a match based on the reduced grant amount and on finalization of a memorandum of understanding with the other state authorities that can provide additional collaborative support, including but not limited to the following: the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and Virginia Catalyst, the Department of Housing and Community Development. You got it?
Senator Deeds, if I can clarify that staff recommendation for reduction, that had been withdrawn, so it was for the full amount. That,
Okay,
just
it was
one
for
small
the-
clarification.
Okay, I apologize for that, for the full amount then, but it would have the same language we had on the other one in terms of the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and Virginia Catalyst. The Department of Housing and Community Development's Go Virginia staff shall draft the MOU with Project Vital, applicant leadership, and oversee project collaboration. With respect to Region 9, it would read, we recommend this project and the accompanying local and total match waivers for approval contingent on verification, follow-up, and finalization of a memorandum of understanding with the other state authorities that can provide additional collaborative support, including but not limited to the following: the Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and Virginia Catalyst. The Department of Housing and Community Development's Go Virginia staff shall draft the MOU with Project Vital applicant leadership and oversee project collaboration.
Hey, Nancy, can I just
Thank
ask
you,
a-
Senator. Well, I want to make sure that, Pia, that answered your question.
It does, and I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Todd?
I had just a clarification, because I think what I heard from Secretary Cummings and some others is the finalization of the memorandum, which is fine, but finalization of the memorandum and approval of the memorandum by the board. I think that's what I heard they were asking, because the memorandum's going to have, it's going to have performance metrics in it, presumably, that'll be very clear in terms of what we agree to do with the sub-grantees. But was that I guess Steve and others, were you looking for approval by the board of the
Yes.
memorandum of understanding ultimately?
Yes. That's what I think is appropriate. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion. It's been seconded on the table. There, you just threw a little twist, Todd, so I'm not sure if that's an addendum, but we just want the board to look at this memorandum of understanding at its next meeting.
Madam Chair, if the maker of the motion agrees that the motion should be modified to require that the memorandum of understanding come back to the board, is that acceptable to the maker of the motion?
Madam Chair, my only concern is I don't want to do anything that's going to unreasonably hold this project up or cost us match funds. If we can set up a process for the chair and perhaps a subcommittee that you appoint to review the memorandums of understanding within the next few weeks when they are drafted. I don't want to wait until September to have them approved.
Senator, can we ask the existing committee that is chaired by Todd to oversee that process?
I think that's fine. Whatever the chair thinks is appropriate is fine. Yes, ma'am.
Todd, then we'll
Yeah.
ask your committee to take a look at that.
The Program Evaluation Committee.
Yeah.
Could I please make a recommendation on that Secretary Merrick be involved in that, given the fact that all of this sits underneath her secretariat?
Love, fantastic idea. Absolutely.
Would love to have Karen.
All right, Todd, can you call the roll, please?
Yes.
And just for clarity, all those in favor of the motion as discussed by or recommended by Senator Deeds, say aye. If you abstain, say abstain. If you are against the motion, say no.
Question.
Okay,
I have a question.
I can't see where you are.
This is delegatory.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Madam Chair, should this be a recorded vote?
yes, it is. We're having a roll call in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Cody?
Ms. Agee,
Abstain.
Jim Chang,
Aye.
Secretary Cummings,
Aye.
Ben Davenport,
Aye.
Senator Deeds,
Aye.
Mr. Dyke, Mr. Fleet,
Aye.
Mr. Fralin,
I abstain.
Ms. Freymel,
Aye.
Speaker Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Holtzman,
Aye.
Kenneth Johnson,
Abstain.
Senator Lucas,
Abstain.
Senator McDougal, Senator McDougal, Secretary Merrick,
Yes.
Delegate Maldonado,
Aye.
Ms. O'Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Stottlemyre,
Aye.
Delegate Torian,
Aye.
and Ms. Trigiani.
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes.
Thank you. That was fantastic conversation and I think a good result, but very thoughtful. We are past our hour and we have a few more things on our agenda. Sarah, is there anything that we need to finalize today? Otherwise, we can move to our September meeting.
Madam Chair, in reviewing the agenda, I do believe that any other decisions could be delayed. And principally, it's just the strategy for the budget recapture. That's the $28 million. But again, that can be resolved in terms of the effect on individual fund balances in September. We do have the healthcare task force, a new board policy, which we were hoping to move forward so that applications received for the September cycle. And that's something we could cover pretty quickly if that was your preference.
And Todd, you were going to report on that. Can you do that quickly?
I can do it quickly. I don't know what type of discussion or conversation there's going to be. I can certainly do it quickly.
We've had a lot of conversation about this previously, so we're looking forward to your report.
All right, I'm going to give you just the Todd version without the script. So there was a healthcare task force that was appointed to look at our policy on support for healthcare related projects, particularly workforce projects. A recommendation has come forward and we believe consistent with the original Go Virginia guidelines and program criteria that we put in place, that would open up the ability to consider healthcare projects, again, particularly workforce projects, if a region can show that without these healthcare resources, or there's a shortage of healthcare resources, is an impediment to growth of traded industry sectors. Recall that Go Virginia focuses on traded industry sectors. Healthcare was not identified initially as a traded industry sector. But this recommendation would allow, in certain circumstances, based on certain criteria, for specific projects, healthcare related, to be considered if, for example, the lack of healthcare resources in a particular region is an impediment to traded sector growth. And that's the essence of the proposal. The healthcare task force, we've had a couple meetings on this, participants on the board, and this is the recommendation. We discussed this at the last meeting. We couldn't vote on it. We had a spirited discussion last September of 2023 when we had an application in front of us. So this would be, I think, a narrow exception. Certain criteria would have to be met in order for a project to be approved or be allowed to be eligible considered. This is something that also came out of the JLARC recommendations to get clarity on this, since we had a discussion at the board meeting last September. So I believe this is the recommendation in front of you. And again, you can see some of the criteria in terms of eligibility for consideration. So this would say project is eligible for consideration. The board would ultimately have to approve a specific project, and just because you're eligible doesn't mean it's approved.
Thank you for that tremendous work that took into consideration a lot of meaningful but disparate issues, coming up with a narrow policy that the board can vote on. This is an action item, so I guess we need to see if there's any discussion, and then we will need to vote. Any discussion, any comments? This comes from a task force, so we need a motion and a second.
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Cody, can you quickly do a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Agee.
Maybe I should abstain. Given
Okay.
that's healthcare, I just don't want any confusion.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chang. Mr. Chang. Secretary Cummings.
Yes.
Mr. Davenport.
Yes.
Senator Deeds.
Yes.
Mr. Fleet. Mr. Fleet. Mr. Fralin.
Yes.
Ms. Frymell.
Yes.
Speaker Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Holtzman. Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Senator Lucas.
Aye.
Senator McDougal.
Aye.
Secretary Merrick.
Yes.
Delegate Maldonado.
Aye.
Ms. O'Quinn.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Stottlemyre.
Aye.
Delegate Torian.
Aye.
Ms. Trigiani.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Nancy.
Well, thank you. Yes.
I apologize. My team is alerting me that there is one more time sensitive decision. I apologize, but if I could, 2 minutes, we'll get this done. It's
Okay.
regarding the recapture scenario. I do think it's important that the board weigh in about the best strategy to accomplish this. So the budget directs DHCD to return $28 million to the general fund on June 30th. And in discussion with staff, we recommend the best strategy to achieve that is to put the majority of the burden on the statewide competitive fund, and in fact, exhaust those resources before we touch any funds that have been previously allocated to a region. Although I will let you know that is going to have to happen because there is not unobligated funding in the statewide competitive pool to support that. So what we're requesting action is just approval of using that strategy to satisfy the recapture requirement.
Yeah, we have no choice but to recapture the funds. And this was one that felt the most fair going across the board. We can recapture those funds. It doesn't impact, as I understand it, any current projects. And we would use, yeah. Any questions or comments? Does this require another roll call vote? Cody's saying yes.
I am saying yes.
All right, Cody, you're our man today.
Ms. Agee.
Aye.
Mr. Chang. Secretary Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Devon,
Yes.
Senator Deeds,
Yes.
Mr. Fleet, Mr. Fralin,
Yes.
Ms. Framel,
Yes.
Speaker Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Holtzman, Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Senator Lucas,
Aye.
Senator McDougal,
Aye.
Secretary Merrick,
Aye.
Delegate Maldonado,
Aye.
Ms. O'Quinn,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Sotomayor,
Aye.
Delegate Torian,
Aye.
and Ms. Trigiani.
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion also passes.
Thank you. I think given our very robust conversation, we will adjourn our meeting. I thank you all for staying a little later than our appointed hour, but the conversation was very worthwhile. I think relative to this last bit about the carryover allowance and understanding the sort of financing of Go Virginia, that we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the retreat and understand what the carryover items are, how we sort of stretch every dollar, as well as look at metrics. And with that, we can be adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.